Hi everybody, this is Bev Hill with Bev Hill Arts and Crafts. I'm just getting signed on here. And what I see on my phone from what I'm viewing down, I'm just going to make sure I'm seeing pretty much the same thing on my laptop, which would be what you see. And I've got it here. I'm just going to enlarge it. And I'm going to move this down a little bit. I don't want to have to raise the camera up. I want you to have a close-up shot. Let's see if I scooch my work to this. Scooch my chair so I stay where my work is. Okay, and then just ignore all of my scribbles. So this is a big piece of watercolor paper. Usually I save it. I set it down so I can eliminate some of the glare. And then my granddaughter drew a bunch of pictures underneath here, so I just started using it as my doodle page too. So it works. Anyway, welcome. I'm glad you're here. I'm going to give it a minute or two for anybody who can join live. And then I will have this, if it's a live video on Facebook, it goes away in 30 days now. But if I download it and reload it to this page, it stays permanently. At least that's the current state of affairs. So I will do that as well, so it should be here. The other thing I do is while I'm downloading this video, I will upload it to my YouTube page so that if there's anything in the future that happens, we've got plan B already in place until we need to find a plan C. But this is for free and for fun, so we just do it that way. We just go with the flow. I have been itching to make some art. Hey Dawn, I probably bit off a little bit more than I can chew because I do want to show you a few things. And I just realized I don't have my glasses. So this could be interesting because they're not close. I have some sunglasses at my fingertips, but these are not going to help me see close up. So we'll just have to do loose art. So the first thing I want to do before we get going in the journal is show you a little technique. I already pre-stamped these, so if you have a stamped image, you're going to want to get them stamped. But follow along. I saw this technique maybe honestly 10 years ago. I've got 3 different bottles, and these are so old I don't know if they're any good anymore. It's frisket is what you'll see is the main name of this product. Drawing gum is the same thing. People use it a lot for watercolor, but this was the technique. It's really messy and it's going to ruin a brush. So find an old brush that you don't care about. But all I'm going to do, it's going to dry like rubber cement. But I want to get, this is why I really wish I had some glasses. I want to get these eyes protected with what I'm going to do next. So this one's going on a little blue, which is just fine. So again, I'm going to protect his eyes. And the frisket stinks, you guys. It's stinky. And I don't want too much, so put a little bit back in the jar. This guy also has a beak I want to protect. So I'm going to cover up his beak. This is pre-work, but it's a pretty nifty technique once we get going. It's going to work better on some stamps than others. This guy also has a beak, so let's get that beak. And this needs to dry before we can do the next step. So that's why I'm getting going right now. I'm putting this frisket on the places I want protected from the inks we're going to do next. Okay, I'm looking here real quick to see if there's anything else I want to protect. Maybe just the tip of his nose where I might want that pink. Okay. Maybe his inside ears where I'd want that pink. There's not much of an inside ear there. Okay. All right. So I'm going to try to wipe this off. It dries like a gummy thing. A wood stump will work too, because you're not painting anything beautiful. It's going to dry and rub off later. Hi, Julie. Hi, Joni. I just looked up from putting this. This is called frisket. And I'm already doubting myself on this guy's big beak. It's either already dried or I didn't put it on thick enough. So let me just, it won't hurt to throw a little bit more on there. Okay, I'm feeling better about that. So that's all I need this for. So I've had this, I don't know, 5 years, practically full. So it's a one-time investment as long as it doesn't dry out. I think if I remember right, they are a little pricey. It is a little pricey, but frisket can be fun, especially with some watercolor projects. All right, so I think I've saved my brush. Oh, I didn't do this guy. This poor guy who wouldn't fit on my first page. Let's see what he needs. He's kind of got weird eyes, but let's get some frisket around there. I don't know what I'll do with his eyes, but we'll figure it out. Okay. So we'll come back to this for the rest of that technique. So I'm going to set these, hopefully I don't lose them, off to the side. I probably won't work with this little brush again. So here's something I've been doing lately. I'm going to show you a technique just to paint the background. It's been very soothing for me. Let me find a book and I'll show you what I've been doing. So when I don't feel like making art, but I feel like moving paint around, this is what I've been doing. I take one color and a second color, this happened to be graphite, and then I add black and white and see how many different colors I can make. And then all my leftover paints or the colors I throw onto the next page. All right, so you see I did violet oxide and lime green, made all these different colors and threw it over here. So I'm going to take this basic technique, but we're just going to make our background with it, and I'll just show you how I do it. Everyone turns out a little different. It might end up being too busy. We'll have to quiet it down, but I want to show you the fun of making these different shades. That sound good? Okay, and this one's ready for me to go. I just haven't done it yet. So I've done almost this whole book, I think, experimenting with color. And, you know, you learn things along the way. Okay, so that's what we're going to do to make this big background. And we'll see how it turns out. All right, so I've got a big paper plate. When you do this, it takes a lot of white. And it takes it takes much less black than it does white. I always need more white. The other thing I tell you is that I always use cheap white paint and cheap black paint. The rest of the paints, I don't mind investing in a better brand, more expensive. So I've put my white to this end. I'm going to put my black on this end. And then I'm going to pick two colors. They can be opposite colors. They can be complementary. It's still, you're finding shades. All right, so I have pulled out, this is a lime green that I kind of want to get rid of. And the reason, I love the color of the lime green, but there's translucent paint and there's opaque. Translucent, it's going to show through what's underneath more. Opaque, it's going to be darker, it's more solid. And I picked these paints because I have a bowl of paints that are low and I want to use up. Okay, so I'm not going to do the exercise over here, but I'm going to take the exercise and the technique and just start covering our page. So let's just start and put a few strokes of just the actual original color. And I usually come back and do that too. And here's some leftover paint. I don't care. So that's all I'm doing. So now I usually go and grab a little bit of white, and I'm going to make a lighter shade of that paint. And then lighten it up again. And again. So I'm just bringing more white in. I'm not bringing any more green in there. So again, when you feel like you want to play a little, but sometimes I just don't have the creativity there. This is a fun exercise. All right, so now I'm going to start adding a little black in there. And again, a little bit of black goes a long way. I'm actually going to take some fresh green and black. So mix it up a little bit. Okay, I like that. So see how I'm throwing, it's almost making it an olive green. And if it doesn't get completely mixed, I'm not sweating that either. Okay, let's throw a little bit more and make it even darker. And it's going to be almost a green black rather than it's going to be more black than green. Oops. Let's pull some more white in there. So we're going to lighten it up a shade so it's almost going to be a gray. Okay, so now this is where it gets a little interesting. First of all, I'm going to see if I can clean off a lot of this brush, because we're going to keep painting over top of it. And I think I have 2 plates here. It feels like 2 plates. Maybe it's not. Yes, it is. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to start drawing my pink over here. And a little bit of, oops, first I want the original. So we'll just throw that on there. So let's just get some true pink. And I don't know why, but I love pink and green together. Trying to get that out so you can see the page. Let's get some more pure pink over here. This is actually Dina Wakley's Taffy. I've already reordered all of these colors because I love that release so much. So this Taffy's almost gone. So I just want to move the bottle. Okay, so more pink. Now I'm going to grab some white, mix it up. It's going to be even lighter. And I don't care, it's going right into this green that's wet, and it's making a new color. All right, so let's add just a tad of black to this. It's going to be kind of a pretty silvery gray. I was noticing here in the spine it was getting a little wet, and I like to get that moved off so it doesn't kind of deteriorate the spine with the liquid. Who's painting along with me? Who's trying this? All right, now here's the next part. Let's take pink and just a tad of green and mix those 2 together and see what that color makes. It's kind of almost a flesh tone, isn't it? Isn't that interesting? So now we're going to throw that in there. All right, so now let's take it and take it a little darker. And now let's lighten it way up with some white. want to be sure I get all my page covered. All right, and I like this bright green again, so I want to get some of this green and just take a tad of this, I'm trying to think of the color, eggshell maybe? Because I wanted more of a green versus a pink with this blend. So it takes no talent, it takes experimentation to see what can this do. All right, so now I'm just going to start playing a little bit with the pink colors. Maybe I want to bring in some of my original color again. So I'm just grabbing what I have left of my pink. And let's do the same thing with the green. Almost looks like hills, right? I'm just breaking it up a little bit. And maybe just quieting it down a little bit. I think it was Dina Wakely I heard, and she was describing another artist who said the only way you can get the look of layers is by making lots of layers, right? There's no shortcut for making layers. But if you stick with the same colors plus white and black, it's all going to go together. All right, so I think that's enough playing. That's my background. Okay. All right, so I'm going to get these paper plates off to the side. I had a stencil before I went online. Okay, here it is. So let's see if we can throw just a little stencil in there. That's got to dry just a bit. I need to find, here's my blending tool. So I'm not going to throw a new color in there. It's either going to be pink or green. Right now on my plate, I've got a good clump of green here. And I could do white as well, but let's start with stencil number 1. And I'm just kind of pushing it up into that foam. Dry, dry. There's a clump. I always like to have my fingerprint in a page someplace. So there's Bev Hill's fingers. Still too wet. All right, I'm gonna have to pull out my dryer, guys. So while I'm drying, talk to me. What's going on? What's the weather like where you live? It is Tim Holt, one of his old stamps. It is like an autographed one. Okay, I think that's dry enough. I can lay a stencil on top of it. So here's my stencil. I just want to make sure I get that corner. So I'm just lightly going in a circular motion. I'm not daubing this particular one. And I don't want to have a perfect set of numbers. It just gives it a little bit of interest. I might overlap my middle. And I'm going to come up here at the top. I think it's looking pretty cool. All right, so I'm done with this guy. Gonna lay him to the side. I don't do more than 2 stencils. So I'm gonna take these little dots now and I'm going to kind of overlap where I started. So I'm not gonna put a separate little blotch. It's all gonna kind of be married to each other. And I kind of want pink. So I'm gonna throw a little bit more pink because we can do white splatter at the end. White splatter is always good. And I'm going to get a new foam because I didn't get another blending tool, but I have another blending foam. And let's see if I can get this pushed up in there. Probably a little bit more paint than I like, but that's okay. The drier your blending foam is to your stencil, the nicer, I think, the results happen. So I even put some stencil over the numbers. I'll come down here. And I'll probably come in toward kind of the bottom and to that side and over top of the numbers. And that's probably all I do. And I'll call that my background. So it's got interest in it, but it's hopefully not so overwhelming that we miss out on the focal point. All right, so now my stencils are done. Get those off to the side. If you want to save your foams, you can rinse them in water or just get most of that paint out of there, and those foams will go again. Excuse me. All right, so now the next thing I want to do is peel off. This is a stamp also by Tim Holtz. It's going to look like a paint blotch, and I'm going to do it in white. I normally just lay it down, but I do have, now, let's see, let's do this block. This is a Dilutions block, and I'm actually going to paint, not ink, on this. And you can paint on your stamps. You just want to be sure and get them cleaned off as soon as you're done, or that paint will dry in the crevices and kind of ruin. Now I wish what I had was spray bottle of water, but I am going to an art class tomorrow, so I've kind of packed up a lot of my supplies. See how fun that is? It's very imperfect. So I know that I want to put 5 of these crazy guys on this journal page. So I'm going to do 5 of these someplace on my page. 1, 2. Good enough. That's the thing about mixed media art. You gotta let the imperfection be part of the art. 1, 2. I really don't want to fight that seam, but I think I'm going to have to. 1, 2. All right, I'm going to stand up, see if I can break that seam, that middle, because this one's higher than that one. Yeah, all right. Let's throw a little paint in that circle. There we go. Perfect. It's got some green on there, so it's going to make a little different white, which is great. 1, 2, 3. Let's go a little closer. 4. That's got a lot of paint on. I bet there's enough paint there to do the last one. Let's get him a little further off. 5. Perfect. Okay, so now this guy I'm going to peel off, and I'm going to throw him in my bowl of paint because I'm not going to clean it while I'm teaching live. Now, if I were playing on my own, I probably would just get up and rinse it real fast. Okay, so now what we want to do, let this dry, and let's go back to our frisket crazy guys. These guys. I'm going to need that here pretty soon. Okay, so here was the technique I saw years ago. Oops, I got to put my white paintbrush in the water. Put my lid on, or I will tip a whole container of white. Thank you, Nancy. I hope you try it. It's really so easy. And even that technique that I showed earlier of just experimenting down the columns with different colors is really fun. Okay, but here we go. I've got some Distress inks, Distress oxides. I had a smaller blending tool back in the day when I did this, but right now all I got are these big honkin' things, but we'll work with them. Okay, and I have no idea what color we're gonna do these guys. I'm just kind of pulling out. I don't have all the colors, but I've got a few. So I'm gonna hit this pink and hopefully there's gonna be some ink on it. And what I'm doing is I'm taking my brush into this ink, and because this guy has now been protected with the frisket, I can do his whole body. Because I'm going to cut this out and not worry about it. So I'm going to come down here and see if I can get a little bit of his body down here as well. And then we'll do some finishing touches with pens. So I like that. Because I'm going darker, I'm going to throw a little bit of purple with him as well. Kind of maybe just right in the middle. Just give him a little interest. So that's my, what is he? Is he an ostrich? I have loved these guys since they were released probably, what, 10 years ago? All right, let's do yellow. What is this guy? That looks like that's a bad ink pad. Oh, should we have our cat be yellow? Yeah. Again, I can go into the eyes because I've covered those up. We're going to rub that off like rubber cement. I think that's all I need to do for that. All right, what other color do we want? I want them to be bright and crazy. Let's do this color. They don't have to be the true colors. All right, let's do this crazy guy in blue. Whoops, did I use that one? No, I didn't. Okay. Yeah, I did. Look at that. I just made it green now. You know what? I don't sweat the small stuff. I want to use my art supplies. I don't want to have a perfect collection. So, ostrich, I think you're right. All right, ostrich. All right, then this guy, let's see if there's any other color that's inspiring me. I do wish that one would have turned out more blue. Maybe this guy, spiced marmalade. Broken china. Let's do spiced marmalade. I've only got a clean big one. It's awfully close to that one, so I'm probably going to blend in with something else. Let's try broken china. He's going to be really crazy. Yeah, it'll be fine. Okay, so there's my guys. All right. So real quick, let me get this pile. These aren't in too bad a shape. Okay, so now where I put that frisket on, I can rub it off. And what I stamped on was another page out of the journal. I just tore it out. You see where that's more of that manila color? Oh, I forgot this poor guy again. Let's have a vote. What color does he need to be? Maybe purple? So there, I just rubbed off where his beak was protected. It just rubs off with your finger. All right, I think we're gonna go purple with it, with him. If I can find it. Let's do this guy. And we can spread out the colors with wherever that we're going to let these guys land. make some room. Okay, so real quick now, I'm gonna do some finishing up. I've got some alcohol markers. Now these are used by my grandkids too, so there's no guarantee. They think they have free access to this whole craft room. Oh, there was some color on my finger. So he's got that color. Let's put that color over here too. There, just like we planned it. Okay, so I don't see any other beaks real quick. So let's see if I can find a pink. This might be too quiet of a pink, we'll see. It's got a little color to it. Yeah, you've got that nose, it's a little pink. All right, I'm not gonna get real fancy. Truly am not. Because this is a manila piece of paper, I'm gonna throw a little white in there just to whiten up the eyes. I'm gonna do those green. Just to brighten it up a little bit. Okay. Oops. Again, I'm going to cut these out so I'm not sweating it. This is the shirt sleeves. Here's the collar. And then I'm going to show you how we can get the details of these stamps back into our journal page, even if we cut it away. Oh, my granddaughter didn't get the lid on that one. That might not work. All right, let's give him, yep, that guy's a goner. How about this guy? Oh yeah, I'm gonna give him a green scarf because again, I love pink and green together. And if he's got a pink scarf, I'm probably gonna give him a pink hat, or excuse me, a green scarf. I'll give him a green hat. And let's go with the lighter green for his jacket. All right. Well, that's a goner. And the other one. Perfect. We can give him that suit color. Okay. Just looking. Oh, I want him to be bright and cheerful. So his suit jacket's going to be that color. You can give him a matching tie. You can have a pink tie. You can have a pink vest. You see my really careful coloring. I do know you love purple. Okay. Here's a bright chartreuse. It's gonna be crazy. Good. I'm not trying to win a coloring award. All right, let's give him that same green eyes. Good. All right. Oops. Got this guy. He could have that color of a shirt, but maybe he needs another color. Is that good? Yeah, it's kind of a peachy. Let me try the other end. So you can do this technique with some elaborate flowers or any of those Tim Holtz, like the cats and the birds. Remember all those? I'll put those pens away later. Okay, it's time for me to cut these guys out. And I'm, again, not going to be real careful because of the next fun technique I'm going to show you. And you guys may know this technique already. So I'm not even worried about getting the top of his hair. I do like this mixed media journal paper for stamping on. It's a nice smooth surface. I did use my Misty for these guys. I'm just going to kind of cut an imperfect bottom to kind of cover up where I stopped my pen stroke. Because nobody who looks at this page is going to know what the stamp was like. So I'm going to cut his whiskers away here because I'm going to capture him again in just a minute. And I'm not going to worry about his fuzzies along the edge. When I get done cutting this guy, I'll look up and see if I've missed anything. It looks like we're all just relaxing. Thank you again for joining me. I know it's a little cumbersome to have to watch me cut. But I'm trying to decide where I want to cut this at. I'm going to do give my haircut right here. You'll see why in just a minute. When I'm fussy cutting and the paper starts to get in my way, just cut it off. Don't keep dragging it with me. One more to go. One more. So he's got that piece of wheat in his mouth. I'm not going to cut that out. Can you imagine trying to fussy cut that? I do have to go up there. I'm going to cut his eyelashes off right there. I'm going to try to fussy cut those. And then just kind of do my wavy thing again across the bottom. All right, so let's scoop these papers off of the table and see if our journal is dry. Okay. I'm just going to take them for a test drive here. Let's get the hot pink one. All right, so there's where my guys are going to live. Okay, so now before we put those guys on there, we're going to take these stamps again. The first one is that, and I kept forgetting this guy. So I'm going to put him on this little block. And when you stamp onto a journal page, you want something hard underneath it. So I'm putting another stamp block underneath. And so I'm just going to stamp it right here. Let's get my black ink. This is archival ink. Now I don't have to worry about what's on the inside, but I do want to pay attention to my edges. Keeping in mind that it's all mixed media. All right, and anytime I stamp, I'm gonna stand up. Kind of like this guy. I kind of like this going over to the next circle. Oh, it didn't get it. There's no way I'm gonna lay it back down, so I'll have to finish drawing it. But you see there, if you did it right, all those pieces that you cut apart, like those little lines, the little lines here, they're under there. You're just going to glue that on top and it's going to extend, minus my oopsie. So I'll finish drawing that in. So then after you do that, you glue them down. Kind of put it together like a jigsaw puzzle. All right, so let's see if I can get the ostrich. So I've got my flap moved over. Or is this the ostrich or is the other guy the ostrich? Yeah, I think this guy is. Let's see. What I really care about is all of his furry around that edge there. And the edge of his glasses. I don't care about the inside because no one's ever going to see that. Okay. So he could come down a little bit maybe. Just have his head there. No, I think he's got to go up. Okay. Just want to make sure I've got the block to support me. And I didn't even check to see if my white was really dry. Oh, yeah, that's good. So when we put this back on, all of his furry goodness comes around our edges again. I'm just staying standing right now. This guy is going to have to go one side or the other. I'm not going to try to stamp on that edge. I'm just trying to figure out how these guys are going to live. I didn't have any idea of composition here. Yep, all right, he's going to go right here. So I'm going to move my block all the way to that edge so I can stamp him right there. We really want to get that furry hair on the top there that I cut away that I didn't worry about fussy cutting. So all of the edges are where we want to make a hit and get what we can. You can be much more careful when you're trying this technique, and I hope you do. I didn't pay attention if I laid him down straight. Okay, we got his furries back. So when we glue that down, see how all of that detail comes back and we didn't have to fussy cut it? Whoops. You'll really see it on the cat if I do it right. With the whiskers that we cut away. Whoops. There you go. All right, so cat is next. No pressure, Bev. So we need to move this block over to the other page. Yeah, it's good. if you feel like your images aren't filling the page up, and we still have a phrase to put on here, you can always add a border around the edges to help bring your focus into the middle. Hi, Chris, welcome. All right, so let's find our cat. He's right here. We'll get him on the block. Trying to let's see, I think I want it right here. Okay. So I want to get his whiskers over here. Get the edge of his glasses and his whiskers over here. And we're going to come down a little lower. Okay, I'm going to press where those whiskers are. Hopefully I hit it. It's not a Misty where you can go again. There they are. So now we're going to glue this right on top. And line it up. So there's his whiskers, there's the tip of his glasses. All right, last guy. I can't find him here. Where did he go? 1, 2, 3. There he is. He's underneath. And he got a big shave, so we got to be really focused on getting his hair back. So let's get all that hair really good. Tip of his glasses. Maybe down there in case there's any wispies. Oops. All right. So we want this guy to go right about, oops, I got to move over my support. And we want him down kind of low. Get that hair. Yeah, we got it. All right, so I would probably find my blending tool. Try to put them all away. And I'm just going to kind of come up in there. Well, it's smearing the black, but that looks just fine too. All right, so the next thing I did, Chris, this is an art journal page. It's a 2-page spread. If you're going to make art, it's better if you work on one page. So if you make something really pretty, you could cut it out and frame it. So when it expands over to 2 pages, it's just going to live there in the book and be happy. So this is Block Alpha from Dina. So I stamped them and then I put them through my Xyron just so it would be a little faster. And we're going to have to figure out where it's going to all fit. Okay, and get it to peel away. And what I printed out or stamped out was called I said, find your tribe. Right? It's kind of like tonight. We've got our tribe. Fine. We just got the F there. So you can paint these stamps. You can use different colored ink. You can go back in and color the white. Last night I could not sleep, and then I'm gonna go your and then tribe down here, I think. And I thought, Xyron, that'll make it go fast. So I am going over the hump here, so I'm just going to press that down into the crease. Get all that sticky off of there. And I like the white letters. I was thinking I'd color them, but it kind of goes in conjunction with these white circles. All right, that's our page for tonight. So let's kind of cover the basics. It took an hour. Now, I obviously thought about what to use and pulled everything out, did that Xyron. So it took longer than that. I did all the stamping and the cutting. But you can do this in pieces. I mean, I've got a whole book now, that other book I showed you that's got those backgrounds, and I'm gonna do art on top of what I painted someday. But in the meantime, we talked about blending two colors, lightening them up with white, darkening with black, mixing them together. I think that's a great technique. I absolutely love it. We talked about using frisket to protect the little places, and then doing a quick color with blending tools. We talked about painting a stamp, and I think that's it for the big techniques. So I thank you for joining me. I was just itching to get in and do something, because the last thing I did not turn out. And I love what Dina Wakley says, in order to make good art, you have to make a lot of bad art. But I just saw I have some white left, even though it's getting a little dry. Let's get it wet and do some splatter, shall we? We'll splatter as we say goodbye. That's really green. So I'm gonna clean our brush. Oh, that is so green. Well, maybe we're gonna have white-green splatter. Okay. This is a pretty sturdy brush, so it's gonna have to be pretty wet. Nothing like a good splatter. And if I don't like it on the face, I'll just wipe it away. You can cover it up before you do your splatter. I could have found a better brush. Oh, there. Get two hands in it there. Okay, I love it. Find your tribe. Thank you, Nancy. It's always good to see ya. You guys, if you try any of this, I'd love to see it with a different variety of stamps, phrases, or the same exact thing. I may put a border around here. We'll see. I'll let all this really dry before you throw a pen on top of it. I've ruined many a pen trying to rush the process. So I'm gonna clean up here, but I got my art fix, and I thank you for joining along. I'm gonna put a survey on here on this page. You know, what are you ready to see next? Do you want to do a new mini album? Do you want to keep doing art journaling? And we'll go from there. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's so fun to see your faces in the words and the little circles. And hopefully we'll see each other again soon. All right. Bye, guys.